reason or any law that will allow the police not to accept the information. Mind you, I'm saying we are not going to preempt, because we would accept, and of course we have come with the understanding that this is an independent pathologist who is going to give an objective opinion. Whether it conforms with the three pathologists or whether it goes against is entirely up to this pathologist, who we, of course, accepted to bring this case to.
Do you find it strange that the family of Adriana Young is not yet in possession of the first report?
This request was made in relation to the preliminary. I believe the posture was that they were not going to release the preliminary report to the family, and we have accepted that. We found it very strange that as soon as this body arrived in the United States for a second autopsy, that this final report was disclosed. We are not going to question, because they did that already. What we will see is that even without that report, because there are a number of questions, and maybe they have released partial information, all right? But they are, of course, observations that are being made internationally in relation to this matter. We're talking about the toxicologist report. Now the toxicology tests. What aspect did that examine? Because I can tell you, we all as Guyanese saw that by the time the first autopsy was conducted, that pool was empty. So I don't know that any police investigator thought to themselves, in trying to preserve the crime scene, as which we know there is no crime scene which was preserved, to take any water from that pool. So we, the family, again, would have some questions. Where did they get that water from? Or whether that was a part of the test, whether the fluids found in the body were allegedly tested and compared with that of the water from the pool, because there was none by the time that was being conducted. We all know that in that country. So the thing about it is that a lot of information is being peddled out there, but there were a lot of inconclusive findings. And,
it definitely
the
was.
concern that the family has is whether from those portions which were inconclusive, whether there were recommendations to expand. The president of our country said that they will stop at nothing. They are going to make all resources available so that a thorough investigation can be done. Up to now, the family has not heard any recommendation for a forensic anthropologist in this regard. All right, we heard that there is no, which is important, there was no determination in relation to the time of death, etc. But this, as I said, the science is there, and if they believe that the science will not help, and we have exhausted all the reach of the science out there, then make that public. But do not try to insult our intelligence by saying we have done all that we can, when there are more things that can be done. So I believe in this process, this is another gathering of information right now. That is what the family are doing, gathering the information. And they are assisting the police. We all, in our time, and even myself as a former policeman, I have found that family members and members of the public have assisted the police in their investigation. And that's all they're doing, assisting them. They are going to bring the information to them, and they will have to treat with it in accordance with law.
We heard the Attorney General of Guyana, Mr. Mohobir Adriana'S, saying that perhaps Adriana'S body has gone past that stage for a second autopsy. Have you, or do you know if this pathologist has formed that opinion?
I know that the Attorney General has on many occasions alluded to the fact that he's not competent in criminal law. And so I will leave it there. This is an area, criminal investigation it is directly involving an issue and a knowledge and an application of criminal law. And I believe the Attorney General has, on many occasions, confessed that he is not a competent lawyer in relation to criminal law.
Y'all hear for
Moving
yourself.
on, you are
See,
also
talking
a
about
former
things he's not
policeman.
credible or
We
able to
see
speak
that
on.
a Canadian expert, quote unquote, retired, was brought into Guyana to conduct an investigation. Do you know if this investigator spoke with the family, witnesses, and are you surprised that that investigation was wrapped up in less than a week?
I'll tell you what happened. At that interview, the investigator said to the father that he had read his statement. The father's, it was at that stage that the father objected and said, hold on, you could not have read my statement because I did not give a statement.
Look at
And it
that.
was at that time that the
Look
investigator
at that.
was a bit surprised that a person who
Fake
jumped into the pool
statement.
and retrieved the body of this young
Hmm.
girl was
Never
not
gave a
interviewed.
statement.
Now, I know
And
that
the
there are a lot
father,
of controversies in relation to what the investigator meant and what I said in the press release and so forth. But I was very clear. I preferred no opinion on that. I just said he expressed surprise. All right. Now, as to whether the police attempted to reach the father and couldn't reach the father and so on, are things that I didn't speak to because that is not within my knowledge. Now, I can say to you clearly that this investigation was wrapped up by this Canadian investigator in days. I pointed out to him that this investigation is going to be a challenging one. And I said to him, are you prepared to advise or recommend to the authorities that you will need various experts to make up a team of investigators in order to do a thorough investigation? And I expressed to the investigator why I believe, in my limited opinion, why there is a need to have that. And he said he is going to raise that with the crime chief and he is going to raise that with whoever authority in relation to the recommendations. And I can tell you, in that short time, if he had to review the statements and, of course, work done by the Guyana Police Force investigators in this matter, Dennis, I'm telling you, he has reviewed nothing because they are not competent to do the investigation. Not competent to do the investigation. And clearly, he could not have walked through this investigation from start to ending without in such a short time. The complexity of this investigation will not allow any person reviewing this matter in days to review statements. Because the first thing you've had to do, you've had to get, of course, a digital forensic expert to be able to bring together back all those videos, persons who have putting videos, because what you needed to do was to recreate the scene. You had to recreate the scene because the entire scene was destroyed by fire. You had to recreate that. And then you had to go in detail. I don't know who expert did that to be able to do that. And then you have the investigators, of course, doing which we don't know. This, all the investigators in this matter were anonymous. That was a simple question asked to the police. Who really are the investigator? Who's heading the investigation in this matter? They were completely silent on this. Because all we wanted to do is to make sure that the investigators were assisted to the best of our knowledge with all the right competent persons and making recommendations. I made recommendations in relation to a forensic scientist who is a professor at the University of West Indies. I made the recommendation how you can make contact with that person. All right? I can tell you, they were not serious about this investigation. Clearly, they were not.
Last question. I've had several persons who attested to the unblemished character of this pathologist, this doctor. Let us assume that the results of today's autopsy goes against what was conducted in Guyana, what next?
As I said, this is information gathering. I believe a report, which we expect to be an objective opinion in relation to the pathologist's observations and expertise in relation to this is going to be supplied to the police from the
Definitely
families. This,
hit that
they are the
thumbs up
ones
button to
who have
everyone
requested
that's in
this.
the video
All
right
right.
now so
And
that
this will be
everyone can be
supported by
updated as well.
a report.
Please
This will be handed
and
to the
thanks for
police.
thumbsing up the
And as I
video right
said,
now so
I
everyone will
cannot
see
see
it.
the police finding any ground in law to reject that. They must take that into consideration. If they believe that between the time the police handed the body to the time the body got to the United States of America, that something happened, they must present that. If the Attorney General advises that there has been, this body has lost forensic value because of the time, then it is not for the police to determine that. It is for a court of law to determine whether that is so. But they must continue this investigation with the information that will be supplied to them. They must continue it. And wherever the investigation goes, of course, that will be completely at the feet of the investigators. And of course, whether there is any recommendations, any charges, that will be at the feet of the Director of Public Prosecution. No one is usurping that power. But I'm clearly saying the law permits them to not close this investigation and to accept any information that pertains to the investigation.
But the police force you once served, are you still clinging to that notion that they cannot be trusted with this case?
I think that is the view of the entire country, that they cannot be trusted. And rightly so, there is enough to say that they cannot be trusted because of their conduct from start even up to this point in this matter. So that is an opinion I think persons have formed. I want to withhold my personal opinion on it because I don't know if my personal opinion is going to be conducive enough or appropriate enough for cameras.
Thank you very much. That is the lead attorney on the Adriana Young case, Dr. Dexter Todd. Of course, you know that we are now in the United States of America. There are rules regarding how, you're welcome, doctor. There are rules regarding how we go about filming and recording, rather, the autopsy of Adriana Young. We are not allowed to do that. Let me say that from the onset. But what we will attempt to do is perhaps speak with the pathologist after or before. I see the family of Adriana Young. They've all gathered here at this facility to witness the autopsy of Adriana Young. HGP Nightly News, we are here, and we will continue to bring you regular updates. Stay tuned.
Them and the trolls come out heavy after the live that I do this morning. Them and the trolls come out heavy. So happy that the lawyer came and he gave us some information and let me know that the conversation with this one was presenting this morning. The Attorney General, Mr. Anil Nandalal, the conversation that he was presenting this morning that was done on that interview, he has no authority to be speaking on in that manner. You just heard it straight there from counsel. Counsel pointing out that he has not that authority to be speaking on that case in that manner. He don't got no authority to the talking about nothing when it comes to Adriana body. And another thing, another bombshell. Y'all hear that? This one McCushion was confronted by the father about a statement that he claimed that he get from the father. How you get a statement from the father and the father didn't give that statement? So there's a fake statement that somebody put down and sign off. Who did that? Who created the fake statement and give it to McCushion? Who misinformed a criminal investigator on an investigation of this caliber? Who are the persons investigating the case? They still don't know who's the investigator. Y'all hear the lead counsel is saying right there. They still don't know who on the ground in Guyana investigated this case and gave McCushion the information for this report that they put out claiming that she drowned. Who is willing to go against the science? You heard the doctor right there. You heard the doctor right there telling you that they cannot prove it scientifically that she drowned. They can't go against the science. They can't go around the science. Look, make sure that you stay tuned, you know. Make sure that you subscribe if this is your first time coming through to the channel. Make sure that you hit that thumbs up button before you go, because guess what? The trolls gonna come out and they're gonna try their best to make sure that content like this don't get to every person that needs to see and be updated with everything in this case. Over here at Delta 9 Media, we keep you updated in a neutral manner with everything that's trending in Guyana and in the diaspora. So hit that subscription button, buddy. It don't cost you nothing. It don't cost you nothing at all. I want to thank every person that is tuning in right now and every person that tuned in earlier today. If you missed the live today that I just did earlier, exposing the bruises on Adriana's knee and exposing those that are trying to gaslight a narrative that is trying to say that she had no bruises on her body and that she drowned in that pool. We're going to make sure we stamp out that narrative. I want every person drop a 9 in the comment section if you said justice for Adriana right now. And I, as usual, gonna make sure I put my 9 first and make it known that I am saying justice for Adriana right now. Why? Because there's a lot of them on the ground trying to cover this one down, trying to brush it under the rug, trying to make sure that we forget about this and move on to something else. But we can't allow that. We cannot allow that. And that is why we're making sure that we update you with everything that's going on in this case. Every single thing. It is very, very important that I do so. Very important that I do so. And I will always continue to
They
bring
had
you the
such
trending
little
information.
confidence in the
Let's hear
government
some
and the
more
police force
about
that to
persons
fly their daughter's
exposing
body
what's going on
overseas.
right now.
Even their basic wish to have people coming and help with an independent investigation was denied. Right? So that's what I want to ask you. How much must one family suffer? How much must a family suffer? When will they get the time to grieve and to release themselves of this? They will only have that when they have an understanding of what happened. And nobody, apart from the police force, I mean, you say people that said she was abducted in a bread and black realm, abducted by a guy named Orlando, that arrested a
I telling you, every time I hear about this boy named Orlando, that they try for putting it, you know, the wicked, they are so wicked. And guess what? After they talk about leaving no stone unturned, right? The guy who they bring from Canada that we just hear from Council, right? Y'all could go back in this live while we watching. We on YouTube. You could pull back and hear Council say it. They had a fake statement coming from the father, and the father confront McCushion. So McCushion can't say the father didn't tell you that the statement is fake. McCushion knowingly, that's why he run out of the country and he couldn't say nothing to the public. That's why McCushion ran and he couldn't say nothing. Y'all didn't understand it's the biggest cover up going on right now, and the whole world is watching them. The whole world is watching one of the biggest cover up while these people scramble to try to hold on to power in the country because they know the moment that that is passed over, which it will be soon, is the FBI. Because as we can see, they're not gonna allow the FBI right now to come into the country. If so, the president would have been signed off on that. The attorney general would have exposed and would have been a part of the real investigation, not a part of the cover up where he's speaking on things that he has no authority on. You have no authority, sir, to be saying that Adriana's body is unfit for a second autopsy. You just heard right there from counsel. You heard it right there from the lead person in the case. Jackie, Simone, we hear right now what's going on. Right, Janice? We could hear clearly, Carl, what is going on with one of the biggest cover up, one of the biggest cover up, Derek, in the history of the world. We're seeing it. A young child. We're seeing it in our own generation right now. We're able to see wickedness in high places. Eh? You mean they're ready to bring a whole government into an embarrassment and an embarrassing situation for persons in the country just so that they can cover up for a person that would do something this wicked, Simone? Wickedness. You mean they had a fake statement? You mean they had a fake statement? They had a fake statement from the father. How does that work? How does that work?
Guy at the bridge charged him. They were taking him in for first a hit and run and then abduction, right? And then her body was found. They still kept this guy, even though they knew she was not abducted, never moved from the hotel. And the same Guyana police force that told us that barred her parents from entry. And when I was there, guarded
Mhm.
that door, I saw them with my own eyes. I was
Jar the door, bar the parents from going in. And then when they don't dump the body in the pool and people find the body and they try to lie to we, make we a fool all this whole month, a whole entire month has passed. An entire month has passed. And all they did was double down on the cover up. The president come out, the attorney general come out, the VP, second VP, third VP come out, the prime minister come out, and all of them did the best that they could do to cover this case up right in front of the world. And we're watching, and we stupid, and we know that we have to remember these people. Why we gotta remember them? Because there's an opportunity right now, and the power's in the hands of the people right now. It's always been. And very soon, there will be the opportunity to replace that authority with persons who are right minded. No, I ain't telling you who's these right minded people. We got to suss them out and make sure they are. We got to suss them out and make sure that they're about leadership and they're about governance. And they will not cover down situations like this that will put all of us in harm. This is a movement for justice for Adriana. This is a movement for justice for Kian. I'm not gonna stop talking about Dan because I got a friend named Dan right across the street from me. He grew up, right? And I would not want to know that something like this would happen to him and nothing would come out of it and people would sweep it under the rug and leave his children, right? His children fatherless. And they got statements right now. They got persons willing to come forward with the information. Persons are willing to speak out against what's going on. But where is the witness protection? When Nigel called for the witness protection, you hear what they say? Oh, why you don't bring out the person? Bring out the person. When you see a person like Nigel telling you this person need protection, you think he don't know? He has years and years of experience. Persons are clearly able to see what they are on, We clearly able to see, And if y'all ain't see it yet, run back the content, not just on this channel, but on other channels as well, that is bold and brave enough to confront the injustice head on, because they coming head on and they coming out with the biggest trump card. If the president could pronounce on a pathology that is somehow skewed, because we know that she did not drown in that pool. So there must be act, some act of foul play involved. Some act of foul play got to be involved because she did not drown in the pool. She didn't. It's an entire month. So if you're an adult and you're in Guyana or in the diaspora, you still coming with a conversation, then you're either very wicked or very uninformed. And I want to think is the first one.
There. I was there. Right? The same force is now issuing a statement telling us what the pathologist said. The same government that turned cotton wool into froth. Right? What Harry Potter spell is that? Frothius magicus? What's that?
It's
Cottonus
wickedness.
apatus? What is that? That's wild. That's wild, bro. My gosh. So that's where we are. Adriana's parents still need your support. Yes, I see there with the Henry boys. That's another tragedy, another stain on the nation. Similar events, the two young children murdered, right, and then the family being gaslit. And is this the country we want to live in? Is this what we're tolerating? Mind you, let me just insert.
Appreciate you making yourself available now to speak with us. There are a couple of questions that I want to ask ahead of this autopsy. The police in Guyana seem to have closed the door
Bring it back
on
from the
this
top.
investigation by releasing certain aspects of the first autopsy hours ahead of Adriana's second autopsy. As a former policeman yourself, how does this resonate?
Bringing it back from the top for those who just joined the live. I can give you guys a couple of seconds to hit the thumbs up button. Boost this video in the algorithm because there's some bombshells. There's some bombshells that's being dropped right here by Senior Counsel Todd. He's about to point out that not only is that report that McCushion just gave out fraudulent, and he knows that wherever he is, somebody in authority in the Canadian Mounted Police needs to call this dude McCushion and say, you're making us look bad. You're making us look bad on the international front. You're making things look bad for us. The way that persons are looking down on you, this report, and everything that you are connected to, sir. How you gonna knowingly use a statement that was not created by the person that the statement is supposed to be from? You were confronted about it and you still allow that report to go out unchallenged? How is that even to be allowed by the Canadian Mounted Police? Look how your boy going on. Look at what he's causing havoc in a Commonwealth country. Look at the havoc that he is creating in the Commonwealth of Guyana. Let's listen from the top. If you haven't already hit that subscription button, it don't cost you nothing. It costs you nothing, but it can keep you connected with everything.
This second autopsy is also an opportunity to get more information. We are not at this stage going to uh, preempt what the results will be. The police, they have an obligation under the law to investigate and not to refuse any information in the investigative process. So, where the police is preparing to submit a file for advice at the Director of Public Prosecution's office, I believe it's in the public's domain by now. that a review or a second autopsy is going to be conducted. And that also is information that the police, of course, must take into consideration. And so at the appointed time, when the results are available, from whatever tests to be conducted are all completed and are available, those will also be submitted to the police. It is not for the
He's about to fill us in with everything right now. A special good day to everyone, including Esther Allen that's watching the show right now. A special good day to everyone that's checking in the comments. I thank you all for tuning in. What you're looking at right now is the latest update. You're looking at the latest update from Senior Counsel Todd, and he's about to fill us in with he's about to drop some bombshell information on us. When you find out that is a fake statement that McCushion had, we're about to hear about the authority that NEWSROOM has to be speaking on the state of Adriana's body. He has none, and we're about to get that information right now, today, from Senior Counsel Todd. Plus, who is running the investigation? Imagine the senior counsel, the person that is running the investigation into the case from Adriana'S side, still does not know who the police force is using to run this investigation into the case that he now has to prosecute. Can you really fathom the type of stuff that's going on in Guyana? Where is this dude, Mr. McCushion? Where is Mr. McCushion? He needs to answer for this. Why did you use a fake statement from Adriana'S father? Where did you get that statement from, sir? How can you validate that statement? You cannot, and we do need to vote them out for real, Esther. They're dangerous for the country to have them in authority because FBI is still not allowed to come in, and the signature of the president can change that. We can clearly see this is a botched investigation that McCushion did. How can you use a fake statement from the person who's the father of the victim and not just a person who would have took the body out of the pool? How? How, McCushion? Let's hear directly from Mr. Todd right now, man.
the police to reject anything at this stage and to say that we have closed investigations and we will not accept information coming now. I know I've read a lot of information in the press in relation to the expert or the investigator has found no evidence, and I'm saying, when did that become a new order of the laws in Guyana in relation to someone saying we found no evidence? I remind the authorities that the only authority on the law to determine what is evidence is the court of law. The police gather information. They submit, they submit to the Director of Public Prosecutions for assessment. The Director of Public Prosecution goes through the assessment to determine whether there is enough to prefer a charge before a court of law, but not to determine what is evidence or not. And therefore, they are also in the process of gathering information. This is a process of gathering information. And so I see no reason or any law that will allow the police not to accept the information. Mind you, I'm saying we are not going to preempt, because we would accept, and of course, we have come with the understanding that this is an independent pathologist who is going to give an objective opinion. Whether it confirms with the three pathologists or whether it goes against is entirely up to this pathologist, who we, of course, accepted to bring this case to.
Do you find it strange that the family of Adriana Young is not yet in possession of the first report?
This request was made in relation to the preliminary. I believe the posture
have you see how they have no respect for Guyanese? You see how they have no respect? Could you believe up to now? Yeah, I hear it. Up to now, they still didn't let the family see the full report or reports. They still didn't let the family see it. So how could they have a real neutral investigation into this, President Ali? Is this not one of the stones that you should have turned to make sure that the family at least get the information? The family at least is not deserving of the autopsy information of their 11-year-old child that was unalive in a public hotel? It didn't even register into me to make sense. How could that be? How could persons be so unfair? How could we allow this to continue? How? How? A whole month.
it was that they were not going to release the preliminary report to the family, and we have accepted that. We found it very strange that as soon as this body arrived in the United States for a second autopsy, that this final report was disclosed. We are not going to question because they did that already. What we will see is that even without that report, because there are a number of questions, and maybe they have released partial information, all right? But they are, of course, observations that are being made internationally in relation to this matter.
Yes.
We're talking about the toxicologist report. Now, the toxicology tests. What aspect did that examine? Because I can tell you, we all as Guyanese saw that by the time the first autopsy was conducted, that pool was empty. So I don't know that any police investigator thought to themselves in trying to preserve the crime scene, as which we know there is no crime scene which was preserved, to take any water from that pool. So we, the family, again, would have some questions. Where did they get that water from? Where or whether
You hear that? Y'all hearing that? Where did they get the water from that they analyzing in the toxicology report to compare it with the water that was found inside of Adriana? Where did they get this sample from? Where did Mr. McCushion get that statement from? Who is the person that is signing as Adriana's father and giving a statement? You think is now they're putting fake statement up as evidence? Y'all think is now they're doing this type of thing? Guess what? Because of social media, it's being exposed. It's not now they're putting up fake statement on people. It's not now this kind of thing going on in Guyana, buddy. And it needs to stop. Look at this. Hear directly what the lawyer is saying, you know. This is not me with some type of vendetta against anybody. This is me exposing the injustice that's going on in Guyana. This is me exposing the things that is preventing justice in this case. Y'all hear what going on here? Hmm? Where they get the water from? And why has the family not yet seen the full report?
that was a part of the test, whether the fluids found in the body were allegedly tested and compared with that of.
Vibert, greetings, bro. And that's one of the things that I am hoping as well. I'm hoping as well that everyone's eye is open to what's going on in the country. Everybody eye open, buddy. And let we all stand up against this injustice. This is wrong. This is wrong. This ain't got nothing to do with race. This ain't got nothing to do with wealth. This has nothing to do with creed. This is a human life. This is an innocent child's life. Hmm?
The water from the pool, because there was none by the time that was being conducted. We all know that in that country. So the thing about it is that uh, a lot of information is being peddled out there, but there were a lot of inconclusive findings. And the concern that the family has is whether from those portions which were inconclusive, whether there were recommendations to expand. The president of our country said that they will stop at nothing. They are going to make all resources available so that a thorough investigation can be done. Up to now, the family has not heard any recommendation for a forensic anthropologist in this.
No stone unturned. It seems like, I'm just going to put it out there. It seems like that no stone unturned is coming from a person who's very lazy, because they ain't turning no stone. Or a person who's conveniently leaving them stones unturned so that they could cover down what's going on in this case, so that they are not close to or pinned with the persons involved, because they are persons in high ranking positions allegedly that are related to the owners of the hotel, right? And they had to be a person that was sending out these program and this conversation from Mandel and other persons in authority from the force that was there that day, there that night, for them to feel comfortable to do the things that they were doing. Why is Mandel not before the courts? Why is he getting pay leave and chilling right now, enjoying the sun and everything else that comes with free time and money? Hmm? How is this allowed to go down in Guyana? And we just sitting back, divided, and allowing people to run a wreck. Who is safe when things like this is allowed? Hmm? You mean for so long they're still not going to give the family the information that they need so that they could go forward with the case and get justice for their daughter? How are they going to know what were the real findings if they don't have the report? It means you don't want them to have no real chance of bringing nobody to justice. That's clearly what that means. I don't know if y'all think what that means, but I think that's what that means. You're trying to pervert justice in this case.
Regard. All right. We heard that there is no, which is important. There was no determination in relation to the time of death, etc. But this, as I said, the science is there, and if they believe that the science will not help, and we have exhausted the all the reach of the science out there, then make that public. But do not try to insult our intelligence by saying we have done all that we can when there are more things that can be done. So I believe in this process, this is another gathering of information right now. That is what the family are doing, gathering the information. And they are assisting the police. We all, in our time, and even myself as a former policeman, I have found that family members and members of the public have assisted the police in their investigation. And that's all they're doing, assisting them. They are going to bring the information to them and they will have to treat with it in accordance with law.
We heard the Attorney General of Ghana, Mr. Mohobir Nandlal, saying that perhaps Adriana's body has gone past that stage for a second autopsy. Have you, or do you know if this pathologist has formed that opinion?
I know that the Attorney General has on many occasions alluded to the fact that he's not competent in criminal law. And so I will leave it there.
Exactly. You're incompetent to be speaking on this matter, sir. Y'all hear what counsel just said about it. He coming out and putting out all of this information because of the position that he holds, trying to sway justice. Let me hear what the attorney, in the case is saying about the attorney general that's speaking on things he has no authority to speak on. Let me pull back a little bit in here again.
This pathologist has formed that opinion.
I know that the Attorney General has on many occasions alluded to the fact that he's not competent in criminal law. And so I will leave it there. This is an area, criminal investigation, it is directly involving an issue and a knowledge and an application of criminal law. And I believe the Attorney General has on many occasions confessed that he is not a competent lawyer in relation to criminal law.
Moving on, you
Exposed.
are also a former policeman. We see that
Exposed.
a Canadian expert, quote unquote, retired, was brought into Guyana to conduct an investigation. Do you know if this investigator spoke with the family, witnesses, and are you surprised that that investigation was wrapped up in less than a week?
Please, please, Delta 9 family, if you have not already thumbs up the video, because of this part right here, you should get your screen recorder out. Get your screen recorder out and record this piece right here for all the naysayers, for all of them who talking about this McCushion report and oh, he said is drowned in and in a tropical zone and all of these conversations where they trying to talk and somehow polluting this man is corrupt. He is corrupt. Let me hear right now what's about to go on right here with this fake statement and everything we hear. He has no credibility, none whatsoever. And he's deterring the credibility of the mountain police by them not coming out and saying, look, we don't stand with McCushion. Hopefully, after this, they will, because it's blatant what's going on in this case. Blatant.
I'll tell you what happened. At that interview, the investigator said to the father that he had read his statement. It was at that stage that the father objected and said, hold on, you could not have read my statement because I did not give a statement. And it was at that time that the investigator.
Hold on, man. Hold on. Y'all here right
At
now.
that interview.
Y'all here, we're going on there. Which statement? Which statement? Which statement, Miss Too Real? And definitely get the likes up. It is important that you get the likes up. Oh man, if 2-3 hours I on this showing this one, the attorney general talking about he bringing Mr. McCushion for so that he could be on the case and you have international help and that is the international help that we're gonna get and all of this thing. What statement? What report? It is botch. It is botch. Fake statement. Someone is diverting justice in the force all the way up to the top of the investigation. And we don't know who's investigating the case. Y'all here going on here?
The investigator said to the father that he had read his statement. It was at that stage that the father objected and said, hold on, you could not have read my statement because I did not give a statement. And it was at that time that the investigator was a bit surprised that a person who jumped into the pool and retrieved the body of this young girl was not interviewed. Now, I know that there are a lot of.
Y'all hearing this? Do you understand the importance of broadcasts like this and what Travis is doing and what so many other channels is doing to ensure justice in this case? Y'all understand is what going on here, buddy? Y'all don't get it, man. If y'all get it, drop a 9 in the comment section if y'all don't see this blatant cover-up that's going on here, man. We don't know who's the investigator. We don't know who's the person that collected that statement. And how could they sign off on a statement like that? Who gave them that okay that they would be comfortable and they would not be prosecuted for that? I didn't drop a 9 in the comment section for myself. What type of thing is this. How, Mr. Ali? This is what you're telling me when you tell me no stone unturned, man? Hmm? You gonna put you boys for railroad justice in this case for this girl? That's how you would treat it if it was one of your children? I think not, sir. I think not. That's how you would treat it, Mr. Attorney General? I think not. Priya, I think not. You would never do this to your own. You wouldn't want this for your own. Why you doing it to us? Why you doing it to us? Railroad injustice. Vanessa, you see it. Miss Johnson, Lyndon Hicks, you see it. Jem Joshua, you see it. Deborah, you see it. Derek, everybody in the life, you see what going on, buddy? How we could feel safe with this kind of thing here? You mean even the statement also they're gonna fabricate? Even the statement they're gonna fabricate?
um, controversies in relation to what the investigator meant and what I said in the press release and so forth. But I was very clear. I preferred no opinion on that. I just said he expressed surprise. All right. Now, as to whether the police attempted to reach the father and couldn't reach the father and so on, are things that I didn't speak to because that is not within my knowledge. Now, I can say to you clearly that this investigation was wrapped up by this Canadian investigator in days. I pointed out to
Few
him
days.
that this investigation is going to be a challenging one. And I said to him, are you prepared to advise or recommend to the authorities that you will need various experts to make up a team of investigators in order to do a thorough investigation? And I expressed to the investigator why I believe, in my limited opinion, why there is a need to have that. And he said he is going to raise that with the crime chief and he is going to raise that with whoever authority in relation to the recommendations. And I can tell you, in that short time, if he had to review the statements and, of course, work done by the Guyana Police Force investigators in this matter, Dennis, I'm telling you, he has reviewed nothing
He
because
has
they are not
done
competent
nothing.
to do the investigation. Not competent to do the investigation. And clearly, he could not have walked through this investigation from start to ending without in such a short time. The complexity of this investigation will not allow any person reviewing this matter in days to review statements.
The
Because the first
injustice
thing you
has
have to
to go,
do,
Simone. It
you
has
have to
to
get,
go.
of course, a digital forensic
Real thing,
expert to
Lyndon.
be
I'm
able
happy
to
that you're able
bring
to see it.
together back all those videos, persons who have putting videos, because what you needed to do was to recreate the scene. You had to recreate the scene because the entire scene was destroyed by fire. You had to recreate that. And then you had to go in detail. I don't know who expert did that to be able to do that. And then you have the investigators, of course, doing which we don't know. This all the investigators in this matter were anonymous. That was a simple question asked to the police. Who really are the investigator? Who's heading the investigation in this matter? They were completely silent on this.
We can't know who investigating the case, right? The statements is Butch. The investigator that was brought in from overseas never gave a public statement after you would have heard that the father's statement was not coming from the father because the father said, look, I ain't give no statement. Who you get the information from? All of these corruption is going on right now. And we are supposed to believe that report that came from this poisonous tree. We're supposed to take the fruit that come from this poisonous tree and we're supposed to accept it and say, you know what? Yeah, The people in authority said this is what happened to Adriana, and that's what happened. That make any sense? It don't make no sense to me. And I am going to keep highlighting and exposing those that are in authority. Those that are in authority are the ones to be blamed for this. That's what I'm trying to show y'all. The person that is covering up, the person that is deferring the justice so that we cannot get to the bottom of this case. The people that hold the power that is preventing persons from coming forward because they're afraid of ending up like Norris King. Those are the ones, the people that was blocking people from going in and searching the hotel. Persons that are out here speaking on things which they have no authority to do so. And they're even trying to sway persons in another direction. In this case, why? Let's hear some more from the lawyer. Then we're going to hear again from the Attorney General. And he's going to say it himself about this whole conversation with McCushion after we hear that McCushion is using fake statements in a real criminal investigation.
Because all we wanted to do is to make sure that the investigators were assisted to the best of our knowledge with all the right competent persons and making recommendations. I made recommendations in relation to
Welcome to the chat, J Queen. Big up
who's a
to
professor at
everybody
the
from
University of
Trinidad
West
tuned
Indies.
in
I
right
made
now.
the recommendation how you can make contact with that person. All right? I can tell you.
Andrew,
They were
definitely
not
change
serious
is
about this
coming.
investigation. Clearly they were not.
Definitely the change
Last
gotta
question.
come because we can't
The
continue like this.
I've had several
This is
this pathologist, this doctor. The results of today's autopsy
mm,
goes against what was conducted in Guyana. What next?
as I said, this is information gathering. I believe a report, which
big up
we
Shazila Ali
expect to be
from
an
Trini.
objective
Big
opinion
up everybody
in
that's tuned in.
relation to the
We're definitely
pathologist's
gonna keep
observation.
we're definitely gonna keep highlighting this. We're definitely gonna keep everybody updated with what's going on in this case. This interview is just from a few minutes, probably to a few hours by now, before where they're actually in Atlanta at the facility where the second autopsy is going on. And the lawyer took some time to do an interview with Mr. Chase, and he's presenting some bombshell information on what's going on with the case so far. I made a note of three of the most biggest thing that Mr. Todd would have said. One, the father's fake statement that McCushion used. Two, Nandalal has no authority to be pronouncing on how fit Adriana's body is for a second autopsy. So we got to ask ourselves, what is his motive for doing so, and why does he continue to do so? Knowing this, because we know that Nandalal, the Attorney General, would know certain legal ramifications, and he would understand to his own self, his common sense. He know what we talking about, but he's still out here speaking about it to sway the public narrative and pervert justice in this case. And another thing as well, we do not know, nor does the persons on the other side that's investigating for Adriana, they don't know who Sharon, they don't know who Lyndon, they have no idea who is doing the investigation for the police. So after the police tried to cover up this case, after they did so many things to make sure that there's no justice in this case, they did, look, they do everything to divert justice in this case, you know, man. After they do all of this, they come back again now and they're gone with the statement. And we're supposed to believe what McCushion said just because he come from Canada. Eh? We're supposed to believe McCushion. I'm glad people from the UK is here right now. I'm glad persons from the UK is watching right now. We really need to call out McCushion. Natty, we need to call them out. We need to call them out on an international level because how dare you, sir? How dare you allow a report to be put out that you know came from a fake statement. A fake statement. And it's the father, oh my God, buddy, they have no, you already unalive the man child, now you're gonna give a fraudulent statement in the case. Who knows what was on that statement? You understand why it's important to thumbs up this video? Hit the thumbs up button, guys. I'm going to give you a few seconds to hit the thumbs up button on this video. Boost it into the algorithm, Eva. Boost it, share it, screen record it, re-upload it on your platform. Enlighten everybody what's going on with this case. Enlighten the world, Avril. Let me tell the world what's going on with young Adriana in Guyana. Let's tell the world what is going on. Justice for Lyndon Tongue. Cause we out here we saying justice for Keon and we saying justice for Ronaldo. We want no charge and them thing and people sitting down. Was the other person that's supposed to get charged still in get charged and the statement was already given? People already see he pull out his weapon and what he did to Keon. Bego, Adriana is important in this case because after this case is cracked, so many other cases are gonna crack and we are gonna get justice for it. So we're making sure that we keep this one highlighted, and this is how you play your part. Every single person that can hear my voice right now. This is how you play your part because there's big media operatives right now trying their best to sway this narrative. How you play your part is by thumbsing up this video. How you play your part in this movement for justice is to subscribe to all the channels that is keeping you updated with this information throughout the day, every single day. Please subscribe, thumbs up the content. Why? Because there are other ones, I'm telling you, they come through in the comments and they do all kind of thing to the content so that it will not be boosted in the algorithm and people can't see persons confronting their lies to their face.
Observations and expertise in relation to this is going to be supplied to the police through the families. They're the ones who have requested this. All right. And this will be supported by a report. This will be handed to the police. And as I said, I cannot see the police finding any ground in law to reject that. They must take that into consideration. If they believe that between the time the police handed the body to the time the body got to the United States of America, that something happened, they must present that. If the Attorney General advises that there has been, this body has lost forensic value because of the time, then it is not for the police to determine that. It is for a court of law to determine whether that is so. But they must continue this investigation with the information that will be supplied to them. They must continue it. And
here we're going on there. It's not for them to decide.
Wherever the
It's not for them
goes,
to stand up and talk on these things. They need to have real investigators. This case needs to have real investigation done. Real people need to come and deal with this case. Look how they keep trying to cover this thing down, Percival. Look how they're trying to cover this thing down, Kevin. How could we allow this to go on, Jeannie? They're digging deeper and deeper and deeper, right? Like they're losing their mind because they think that we can't see this cover up. They think that the world can't see that they're covering it up. They think that the world is not absorbing them. They think that people really that stupid. Or we are somehow all afraid of their victimization, but it comes a time when people had enough. It comes a time when persons had enough. Let's listen to what the Attorney General had to say, because we heard what the lawyer had to say about Mr. McCushion. We heard clearly that Mr. McCushion is cooking up a case with a fake statement and giving me the results. Let me hear what the Attorney General is saying, and let's analyze if we could really trust the Attorney General conversation.
of the forensic examination that there was no marks of violence. The body exterior and the interior was examined. They said there was no evidence of a killing. And Vivian would tell you, would understand what a killing is. Right? They had no evidence of any sexual engagement. The hymen was intact, the genitals were examined, there was no abrasion, no interference. It was
No abrasions, no abrasions, no interference. This is not what Norris King said. This is not what we see. This is not what Norris King said, and that's not what we see. Watching from Canada, justice for Adriana. Eliana, we need to call out McCushion. I'm happy that persons are in the live from Canada right now. He is somehow eroding the integrity of the Canadian Mounted Police. He is out here in the Commonwealth of Guyana putting out fake reports on criminal cases. That's what's going on with Mr. McCushion, the person who was brought in, from Canada, the Canadian Mounted Police. Right? The Canadian Mounted Police. Eliana Pompey, we calling out McCushion from the Canadian Mounted Police that is fraudulently presenting information in Adriana'S young case. He is presenting fraudulent reports and he's circulating it throughout the Caribbean. Check the Jamaica Star, you're going to see the information there. Check other notable media houses around the Caribbean, you're going to see the information there that Mr. McCushion's name is next to, and he did not say that it is somehow fraudulent, and we're hearing from the lawyer that he used a fake statement from the father, and the father confronted him to his face. Now, the Attorney General is telling us this.
Ordinary, I think the word they used it was, I can't remember, there's a word, a scientific word, meaning that it is in its pristine state.
The scientific word that he's looking for is lies. L-I-E-S. Lies. Lies. And that's what we're hearing right now coming out. A whole lot of lies, a whole lot of gaslighting, a whole lot of persons jumping into the comment section, coming under the video and talking a set of stupidness, talking about, oh, she drowned in the pool and she resurfaced because of the tropical climate and the blah, 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 blah. Nowhere else in a tropical climate and nobody else never drowned in the tropics. Look at the man that drowned in Linden just a few days after Adriana. And he was in the same tropical zone, right? But he never raised the way that Adriana raised, and rigor mortis was completely kicked in, right? His body wasn't limp and moving around like if he was just unalived a few minutes or a few hours ago. Y'all understand the level of wickedness that's allowing to move around freely in we country while got people like Norris King lock up, while they got hundreds of our brothers and sisters right now lock up on fake terrorism charges. Y'all understand what's going on right now in the country, man? And this is where the Attorney General stepping out, and he ain't getting no charge for none of this, for inciting public terror. He's not inciting not when he jump out and talk these type of things, nothing at all. Swaying a narrative because there got a lot of people holding those type of conversations as fact, because they're hearing it from a person in authority, which they should. But when you're lying like this, how could you be then replaced in that authority? We have to remove you. We have to remove persons like this. It is dangerous.
So where are you getting, this is what three pathologists, two from the United States of America, one from Mount Sinai, one is a lead pathologist.
Big up yourself to everybody tuning in from around the world, from the Netherlands, from Canada, from all over the Caribbean, all over Europe, all over the US, everybody from Guyana right now. Take a few seconds Take a few seconds to play your part in this movement for justice for Adriana. Take a few seconds and hit that thumbs up button. 1,500 persons right now. Take a few seconds. Hit that thumbs up button. Boost this video in the algorithm. Let everybody all over the world. Let everybody Lambert. Everybody Eliana. Let everybody see what's going on in the country. Let everybody be updated with this content. See that they are persons, Lady Justice, confronting them with the lies that they're presenting so that the world could understand what's going on in this case. Play a part. Thumbs up the video. And if you ain't subscribed yet, it don't cost you nothing, but it will keep you connected with everything trending in Guyana and in the diaspora. So hit that subscription button, buddy. Hit the subscription button. Let me hear more of what the Attorney General got to say about what's going on with this case.
In Delaware, one from the government of Barbados. On what basis are you concluding it's a murder in the face of that? You have nothing on your side, but you concluding it's a murder. That is it, and that comes from a parliamentarian in the main political opposition party. And that is why I continue to say that they cannot be interested in justice because they are doing everything to interfere with justice being achieved in this case. They are perverting the justice course. What they are doing, however, is championing their own political causes. They see this as a platform. They have nothing else to go on right now, and I don't want to get into that political narrative.
Before we move on from the matter of investigation, AG, could you explain to us what is the retired Royal Canadian Mounted Police investigator empowered to do as far as investigations are concerned, and how will that be connected to the work of the Guyana Police Force?
First of all, the Guyana Police Force is the sole, exclusive, and premier.
Here are we going to defend fake statement McCushion. Here are we going to defend fraudulent statement McCushion. Here are we going to try to paint a picture that this person has some type of integrity in this case, Simone, when we know, we heard directly from the lawyer what really going on.
Law enforcement agency in Guyana to deal with civilian crimes. Even when the army is invited to launch joint operations with the police in dealing with internal matters, the civilian authority, that is the police, takes precedence over the army. So the investigator had to be sworn in as a member of the Guyana Police Force. And that would invest him.
Which is a shame. Which is a shame. Right-thinking members of the Guyana Police Force. This person was a part of your organization when he took a fake statement from a Guyanese and put it in a criminal investigation and gave a report. What say you about that? What say you about that? What the attorney just exposed? What say you about that? High-ranking, right-thinking members of the Guyana Police Force. This bonnet disrespectful. Disrespectful. How could he think that he had the authority to do something like that? Who tell he could do it and he gonna be all right with them? I wonder. I wonder who give you them type of clout in the country, Kevin. I really wonder.
Or vest him with all the powers that the Guyana Police Force is conferred with under the Police Act, Chapter 1601. And that gives him the right to conduct the investigation along with the other investigators. Do everything that is required under the investigator and put his findings up. And that is what he's contracted to do, to produce a report in writing within a time specified in his contract.
AG, is his presence in Guyana mainly to build public trust in the process, or is it that he comes with special skills that will enhance what the Guyana police can do?
Both, both. And there's a third element.
Do none of that. How we know he do none of that? Because now that McCushion has finished his short, less than a 1 week investigation into a big case like this, do you guys feel somehow like you have gained more trust as to the police force involvement in the investigation in this case? Remember, we still don't know who's actually investigating this case, you know. We still don't know who's the actual investigators in this case. We know that McCushion was a part of it, but who else? Who else? Who else, Clyde? Who else? In all my life, you hear what Mr. Clyde Jones is saying? In all my life, I've never seen something like this. Lie, 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 shame. Guyana looking bad from England. Guyana looking bad from Canada. Guyana looking bad from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Guyana looking bad from Trinidad. Guyana looking bad all over the world because guess what? The persons in authority is blatantly covering up the unaliving of a child. How more gruesome can you get? How lower can you get? Hmm? How more lower can you get than that?
And rightfully so. They expressed their concerns about the police conduct of the matter. The president, in one of his initial engagement with the family, made a promise to bring in a foreign element to assist with the investigations. And that promise was delivered upon in the form of this gentleman.
Yeah, leader. So the help that was supposed to come for Guyanese to find a resolution and get justice in this case is Mr. McCushion. Mr. McCushion, in accordance with what Attorney Todd just pointed out to us, Mr. McCushion took a fake statement that was not given by Adriana'S father after he was confronted by Adriana'S father. All of this in accordance to what Mr. Todd just said, you know. He took this statement and presented it in a report that is now being circulated in Guyana and all over the world that is saying that this girl died from natural drowning. How can we allow these type of persons to stay in authority? Whose child is going to be next? Who is willing to volunteer to be a part of these persons' evil deeds when they feel like they're going to unalive somebody else soon? When they got another ritualistic date coming up, when they got another celebration for opening of whatever building, when they want power to do whatever else they think they need power to do in their psychotic minds, who is going to volunteer their child to be a part of their sacrifice? Hmm? Who's going to volunteer to be a part of a country where persons are allowing things like this to go down? It's blatant what's going on in front of our faces. You mean to tell me that no one informed the Honorable Attorney General that Mr. McCushion was given a statement that was fraudulent by somebody that was a part of the investigation claiming that this was from the father? Don, you could believe that? Hmm? You could believe that Anil was not informed about this? It's impossible. They were following this very close. So what is he trying to present to us?
The regional component of that Royal Police Force here in the Caribbean, I think, recommended that gentleman. The government doesn't know that person. He was recommended from the Caribbean itself. I believe he may have done work in the region before. So yes, it is to add objectivity, to boost public confidence, to assure the family that the government is committed to ensuring that a professional, objective investigation will be concluded, and also indirectly, you bring forensic training to the police force. He's working with a team of police officers. And he has already made contact with the family for the newspaper reports that I'm reading. He has made contact with the lawyer of the family, and the investigations are ongoing. But I see the lawyer made some unfortunate statements, which he's
Why
not
did the
qualified to
government
make.
of Guyana why did the government of Guyana go for serving members of either the F?
The lawyer made a statement that is exposing y'all. The lawyer just gives some statements that is further sinking y'all into being complicit with the covering up of the unaliving of a child, sir. Y'all need to come out and move your support from McCussion's report. Y'all need to move y'all support from the report y'all, that McCussion is giving in this case. If y'all do not remove y'all support for the report that McCussion is giving, that means that you are a part of the cover up. You are a part of that false statement that was given to him. You are a part of him not running a real thorough forensic investigation and coming out with those findings that goes against science, that goes against legal practices, because it's the fruit of a poisonous tree. How you gonna use fake statement and give a report and the report gonna be accurate? Everybody know it don't make no sense, man. And these people are complicit and continuing to push this narrative.
FBI, the RCMP, or the Scotland Yard instead of retiring?
I would not be able to answer that question. And I don't
Of
think it
course
makes
you can't answer the question. Of course.
I wouldn't, I don't, maybe, I don't know.
It has a consequence. Of course, it has a consequence because you would need to sign off a document giving authority to the Canadian Mounted Police to come into your sovereign jurisdiction and run a criminal investigation with which they will have complete authority over the findings and how they run that investigation. That is the difference. That is the difference that persons need to understand why they went and bring McCussion. He's retired. He's no longer part of the force. But still, I think the force should be saying something about this because he's using the fact that he was a part of the force to lend to his credibility to be a part of what's going on in Guyana. That's what's going on.
You wanted somebody quickly. When you want to engage agencies that are,
But you want somebody quickly. You want somebody that y'all could use. You want somebody quickly. So you gonna run and bring a person who gonna cook up a case, even if it got a fake statement and give the report so you could go back to vacation. He came off of vacation to go back quick on vacation in less than a week with more than 40 to 50,000 of taxpayers' money. US we're talking about. US. Y'all didn't understand how drastic this thing is, Stacey. They jailed the nurse because of what? They jailed the nurse because she's exposing them. She's exposing them.
or officers who are formerly part of agencies. You have to go through a process. This guy was retired, and apparently he does this. He offers this type of services. And as I said, he does this in the region in particular.
So for
Mr. NANDLALL,
clarification,
I'd like to take you up on this question Dennis asked about the government retaining serving members of other government agencies for investigations. I'd like to ask you, and I know that this is something that recurs over and over in Guyana, that there are calls for these foreign agencies to take over. Is this something legally possible in Guyana?
It definitely is possible. It's more than possible. And persons are going to start to take real action with this.
That the government could retain members of investigative agencies of other countries to legally serve in their police capacity in Guyana to investigate crimes in Guyana, totally unrelated to the laws and crimes against those states?
I already expressed my view on this matter as a matter of policy.
Matter of policy.
We have a police force here that is authorized by our parliament to be the premier law enforcement agency in the country. I will not advocate a derogation from that policy objective of the legislation unless Parliament changes it.
Nor are we asking you to object. We're not asking you to do nothing like that. What we're asking for is justice in this case. We're asking to know who's running the investigation. We're asking that credible people run the investigation. We're asking that when you bring persons to run an investigation from an international organization, these persons are still on that force so that they can answer to that force and the authority that is coming from an international body if they were to do anything like Mr. McCushion did. Remember, top cops and them already point out that he has mens rea. He got the criminal mindset because he already said he got all the information. And then look we gonna do. Look we gonna do. Actus Reus. Shout out to Top Cop Slow and Top Cop Conway. I be in class and I'm learning. All right. Libby here right now. What the attorney had to say about McCushion. For all of them who think y'all hear everything what the attorney general had to say, let's listen again to what McCushion did for those who miss it and for those who need to hear it again for emphasis so we could understand what's going on.
The investigator said to the father that he had read his statement. The father's, it was at that stage that the father objected and said, hold on, you could not have read my statement because I did not give a statement. And it was at that time that the investigator was a bit surprised that a person who jumped into the pool and retrieved the body of this young girl was not interviewed. Now, I know that there are a lot of controversies in relation to what the investigator meant and what I said in the press release and so forth. But I was very clear. I preferred no opinion on that. I just said he expressed surprise. All right. Now, as to whether the police attempted to reach the father and couldn't reach the father and so on, are things that I didn't speak to because that is not within my knowledge. Now, I can say to you clearly that this investigation was wrapped up by this Canadian investigator in days. I pointed out to him that this investigation is going to be a challenging one. And I said to him, are you prepared to advise or recommend to the authorities that you will need various experts to make up a team of investigators in order to do a thorough investigation? And I expressed to the investigator why I believe, in my limited opinion, why there is a need to have that. And he said he is going to raise that with the crime chief and he is going to raise that with whoever authority in relation to the recommendations. And I can tell you, in that short time, if he had to review the statements and of course work done by the Guyana police force investigators in this matter, Dennis, I'm telling you, he has reviewed nothing.
He has done nothing. In other words, he's doing everything to make sure that justice is diverted and delayed in this case. Clearly, and even if he made the report to the crime chief, why didn't the crime chief make sure that he said something about the report after it went out to the public? Did he make the report to the crime chief? Who knows? Who knows?
because they are not competent to do the investigation. Not competent to do the investigation. And clearly, he could not have walked through this investigation from start to ending without in such a short time. The complexity of this investigation will not allow any person reviewing this matter in days to review statements. Because the first thing you've had to do, you've had to get, of course, a digital forensic expert to be able to bring together back all those videos, persons who have put in videos, because what you needed to do was to recreate the scene. You had to recreate the scene because the entire scene was destroyed by fire. You had to recreate that. And then you had to go in detail. I don't know who expert did that to be able to do that. And then you have the investigators, of course, doing which we don't know. All the investigators in this matter were anonymous. That was a simple question asked to the police. Who really are the investigators? Who's heading the investigation in this matter? They were completely silent on this. Because all we wanted to do is to make sure that the investigators were assisted to the best of our knowledge with all the right competent persons and making recommendations. I made recommendations in relation to a forensic scientist who is a professor at the University of West Indies. I made the recommendation how you can make contact with that person. All right? I can tell you, they were not serious about this investigation. Clearly, they were not.
Last question. I've had several persons who attested to the unblemished character of this pathologist, this doctor. Let us assume that the results of today's autopsy goes against what was conducted in Guyana. What next?
As I said, this is information gathering. I believe a report, which we expect to be an objective opinion in relation to the pathologist's observations and expertise in relation to this is going to be supplied to the police through the families. They're the ones who have requested this, all right? And this will be supported by a report. This will be handed to the police. And as I said, I cannot see the police finding any ground in law to reject that. They must take that into consideration. If they believe that between the time the police handed the body to the time the body got to the United States of America, that something happened, they must present that. If the Attorney General advises that there has been, this body has lost forensic value because of the time, then it is not for the police to determine that. It is for a court of law to determine whether that is so. But they must continue this investigation with the information that will be supplied to them. They must continue it. And wherever the investigation goes, of course, that will be completely at the feet of the investigators. And of course, whether there is any recommendations, any charges, that will be at the feet of the Director of Public Prosecution. No one is usurping that power. But I'm clearly saying the law permits them to not close this investigation and to accept any information that pertains to the investigation.
But the police force you once served, are you still clinging to that notion that they cannot be trusted with this case?
I think that is the view of the entire country, that they cannot be trusted. And rightly so, there is enough to say that they cannot be trusted because of their conduct from start even up to this point in this matter. So that is an opinion I think persons have formed. I want to withhold my personal opinion on it because I don't know if my personal opinion is going to be conducive enough or appropriate enough for cameras.
Thank you very much. That is the lead attorney on the Adriana Young case, Dr. Dexter Todd. Of course, you know that we are now in the United States of America. There are rules regarding how, you're welcome, doctor. There are rules regarding how we go about filming.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you for letting me know that I was just briefly muted right there. But definitely, we got an update with some bombshell information, buddy. Bombshell information in this case. The report that they put out is fake. The report that they put out is fake. The report that they put out and circle around the whole world, circle it around the Caribbean, that came from Mr. McCushion, and they're using his authority and expertise behind, it is fake. It is fake because it is coming from the fruit of a poisonous tree, right? It's clear that we can see that persons in real authority PA is a part of this cover up body. Persons in real authority is a part of this, right? And we are going to keep highlighting it. We are going to keep exposing it and exposing them every chance that we get. We're going to keep you updated with everything, Delta 9 family. We're going to keep you updated with every single thing that's going on in this case. We've been following it from the very first night. The very first night when it started off in the hotel, right? We uploaded it because we saw Laura was posting and posting this. I says, what's going on here with these people at this hotel room? Who knew that we would be covering the preliminaries for one of the biggest cover up in the history of our 50 something year old country? We're witnessing it right now. We're witnessing that one of the largest and most powerful political groups is trying to cover up the unaliving of a child, arguably one of the most powerful political groups in the Caribbean. Y'all understand how important this is that we find justice in this case and figure out who's the people behind here pulling these strings? Any person that is living in the Caribbean right now should be interested in what is coming out in this case. You're talking about one of the most powerful political groups. They got that oil money. They got control of trillions and trillions in budget money and real power and authority throughout the Caribbean, and the wealth will continue to promote us around the world. How can we leave people like that in authority? It is dangerous to all of us, all 1,500 plus of us right now that is saying justice for Adriana. We're going against their principle. Every person that's a part of this movement for justice that make sure they tune into these uploads, whether it's Delta 9 Media or any other channel that is covering it and exposing them, exposing the injustice. We are at risk because these persons are in authority and they are evil and dangerous, as we can clearly see. As we can clearly see, guys, let's hear. Let's hear what was pronounced. Let's hear what was pronounced by the leader himself.
Continue to lift this family up in prayers. Continue to show our love and demonstrate our love in prayers with this family, as I will continue to do. I want to call upon.
Y'all hear the hypocrites? Y'all hear the hypocrite in the statement? Y'all hear he's really trying to make sure? Is he really trying to make sure that there's justice in this case? When you bring in a person to run the investigation, right? You bring in a person to run the investigation that is botching the whole case right now. You're not making sure that the investigator, the person on the other side that is looking for justice for Adriana, even know who's investigating the case. They don't even have the full report from the autopsy. How are you praying with the family? How are you leaving no stone unturned to help the family? How?
All Guyanese to respect the rule of law. I want to call on all Guyanese to avoid action that the family would have an opportunity also to bring in, add, or observe. The family would have chosen Dr. Collins, and they would have had also representatives throughout the process today. So today, as I said, was an important day in evaluating the circumstances and the death of Ariana. And I just want to briefly share with you what was shared with.
Notice he cared that much and he's that nervous that he doesn't even remember her name. Notice that he's interested that much in what he's speaking on, right? And he's that nervous as to what he's about to do that he forgot the name of the person that he's speaking about. Y'all ain't seeing what's going on here, buddy. How could we allow this to continue? It is so shameful and embarrassing. Embarrassing. One of the wealthiest countries in the Caribbean, one of the wealthiest countries in South America, and this is what's going on at the top. At the top.
The police representative and shared with me. The forensic pathologists, as you know, as Frank said, were brief. And they started the work sometime around 1:20 p.m. That's when the autopsy examination commenced. And the objectives of the examination were to identify signs of trauma or injuries to the body, detect signs of sexual violence, collect appropriate forensic samples, document the postmortem examination through photographs and videography, determine the cause of death. Upon completing the procedure, the forensic pathologists rule out signs of physical and sexual trauma on Ms. Young's body. After careful deliberation, the team concluded that Ms. Young died as a result of drowning. Ms. Young's relatives were briefed following the examination and informed of the medical cause of death. Due to the state of the decomposition of Ms. Young's body, the pathologists were unable to provide an exact time of death. The relatives were also informed that the pathologists ruled out theories of forcible drowning or any other means of killing, followed by disposal of the body in water.
Notice. Now I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of insights into me. Y'all hear how his voice trembled when he was pronouncing that? I'm a media specialist and a song specialist. I pay careful attention to how persons deliver every note so that they can get the perfect recording whenever they come to the studio. Y'all hear how his voice was trembling right there? Hmm? There's something that he's uneasy about that he's saying right here. And we can clearly understand that he is painting around what he already would have gotten in a report, that this girl did not die in that pool, and he knows it. He knows it. He knows, and other persons in authority, they know what is going on here, man. Why are they doing this? They have no respect for the citizens of the country because they think it's not the first, it's not the second, it's not the third time that double they do this. And it's not the 10th or 20th time that they did this to us. And then brush it under the table and continue, move on, business as usual.
So that was what was communicated. Of course, as you know, the toxicology tests that would have to also be completed. So that is a brief synopsis of what was of information is available with me. The pathologists would conclude their report and sign their full report.
They conclude their report, and then guess what they exposed to me? That they were cooking up all along. Because today, before the sunrise tomorrow, hopefully, we're going to understand what is in that second pathology. We're going to understand what is in that second pathology before the day is out. So if you subscribe to the channel, because at any time, so boom, there could be an update at any time, and we're going to come back live. We're going to come back live right here on this platform and present the information in a neutral manner to you. Because guess what? We ain't got political party and political affiliates and political friends in high places over here, you know. Because guess what? If it was any other leader, any other political party that was there, regardless of race, creed, connection, they would be right now getting exposed in this same manner, because right is right and wrong is wrong. And we keep it neutral over here. It's very important to us that we have the liberty to expose these things when necessary. Very important to us. So if you want to stay updated with this type of content, make sure that you subscribe. Why? Because before the day is out, we're going to be back here again live with bombshell information. As long as they put out the information on the second pathology, we're going to be right back here on Delta 9 Media, exposing the injustices and the cover up in this case. So right now, take a couple seconds, hit the subscription button, hit the thumbs up button, and boost this video in the algorithm. Stay connected with every single thing that's going on. I want to thank all 1,500 persons right now for being a part of the movement for justice, the movement for justice for Adriana and for every other person, right? That was unalived in suspicious manners in Guyana. I want to ask that you stay connected with this channel and every other channel that's a part of the movement for justice, bringing you this very relevant and important information every single chance that we get. Every chance that we get. I want to thank you again for tuning in. And I will catch you in the next live. Make sure that you subscribe. Make sure that you thumbs up the video. I'm going to catch you in the next video. Stay tuned.